What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders Awakened. Now, Dungeon Defenders Awakened's loot system is very much like Dungeon Defenders 1 and completely different than Dungeon Defenders 2 in the aspect of it is completely a stat-based game. So your stats are what you are building, and your stats are what matter. Now, I've had lots of questions to go through all of the stats and go through what each one of them does, so we're going to do this in this video. Now, first things first, if you go over to stats, you can see where you can apply rune power points, and this is going to cover most of your stats. Your vitality is, of course, your hero health. Your attack is your primary weapon damage, meaning that as you're shooting things with your weapon, whether it be a primary or alternate fire, more attack value will increase this amount of damage. In addition to that, the attack also applies to any damaging pets. So if you do have a pet equipped that does damage, higher attack means that pet is going to be hitting harder. Moving right along to agility. Agility is your movement speed, and it has a very low cap. The cap for agility is 100, meaning that you will really never need to apply any points to agility, and you're going to be way over the cap just from the agility acquired from your pieces alone. As you see here, just this one piece on this builder, and my agility is way over cap. Casting is going to handle your repairs, or it's just going to handle your casting in general. So your repair speed, your tower placement speed, anything that involves a casting time or a channel is going to be improved by your casting stat. Skill and boost are two areas that provide quite a bit of confusion, and basically you can sum it down to skill is your first ability, boost is your second ability. So in this example here with the apprentice, skill of course is mana bomb, which is my first ability, and boost affects overcharge, which is my second ability. The defense stats are pretty straightforward. You've got fortitude, obviously the health of your defense, power, the damage of your defense, how much power it's going to put out in a single hit. Then you've got range, which of course is range, and defense rate, which is obviously how fast defenses attack. Now, a lot of folks are asking for what is the sweet spot on these ranges, and really, it varies for every single defense. Where you go with something like the Apprentice, the Flame Burst Tower is going to benefit greatly by having more rate. So the Flame Burst Tower is going to get its maximum DPS at about a 5-to-4 ratio. Like, for every 5 points of power, you go 4 points of rate. It is a very rate-hungry defense, and the more rate you can put on that tower, the higher the damage per second output. However, then you have something like the Deadly Strike Tower. The Deadly Striker Tower is actually going to benefit more from power in a lot of cases as far as damage per second. Now, one thing you have to look at is it's not always about damage per second, and the Deadly Striker Tower is just a glaring example of that, and that is there's just no reason to hit a mob harder when you're already one-shotting a mob. Now, if the Deadly Striker is positioned in a way where it's only going to handle, say, Copter Ogres or whatever, then of course you're going to get a little bit more benefit out of that. But in general, if you look at the effective damage output of it, pumping up more power is not necessarily going to give you more effectiveness, as you're going to get a lot of overkill and a lot of unnecessary damage. With this in mind, on the Deadly Striker, you're not really going to want to look at the DPS output of the tower, and you're going to want to go ahead and stack some rate and get the rate capped out, or as high as you can get it without sacrificing power. Still, in this example, I personally like to build my Deadly Striker towers with about a 3-to-2 rate ratio. So for every 3 points of power, 2 points of rate. So one thing looking at the exact ratios of what you use, as you will see people that are building their stuff 2-to-1 power rate winning maps, you will see people building stuff 5-to-4 power to rate and winning maps. So what is the most effective for your personal builds will vary depending on your setup and what you're using your individual defenses for. Now, one stat that there's very little information about in the game, and there's no way to apply points to it right out, is your armor. As you see, like this particular item has an 11% armor value. Now, this damage reduction is taken directly from Dungeon Defenders 1 in the cap, and that is the effective cap of armor is 90%. You can't get greater than 90% damage resistance, although you can put in an unlimited amount of points into armor and jack it way up. Your effectiveness is going to cap out at 90%. So, although you don't necessarily need the armor and you can probably just tough it out with some hero health, going through up until insane mode, you don't want to have more than 90% total in your armor value when you look at the stats. Now, once you jump into Nightmare and into Massacre, of course, Nightmare and Massacre mode will apply different restrictions on your stats directly, and armor is in that same situation. In both Nightmare and Massacre, you're only going to get 55% of your armor value. Now, since you're only getting 55% of your armor value, once you hit Nightmare and Massacre mode, you're going to want to get to 164% armor. As you see here, I misclicked and ended up going over, so I've got 3 points of armor that are not being effective whatsoever and were wasted points where I was upgrading. Now, if you take 164%, of course, and you take 55% of that, it brings you right back down to that effective damage reduction of armor, which is 90%. You're going to be able to achieve this as you're upgrading items by setting 2 items to 30% armor and 2 items to 29% armor. As you know, as you're upgrading, you will have armor items unlock. As you see here, the armor stat is going to unlock every 4 levels, meaning if I put 4 levels in here, it will open up and allow me to put in 1 more point into armor. So 30% on 2 armor pieces, 29% on the other 2, and remember, armor follows the set bonuses as well, where you're getting that 40% increase to that stat. So 29, 29, 30, and 30 will get you to the cap for Massacre and Nightmare mode in Dungeon Defenders Awakened. If you have any more questions regarding stats, don't forget to let me know down in the comments below, and I will do my best to get your questions answered as quickly as I can. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to click that like button and please subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back soon with more Dungeon Defenders in all its forms. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.